Wapendwa, welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. If this is the first time you're joining us, I will really encourage you go and watch part 1 and then come back for this part. Okay? Let's dive into it. So, April, now both of the little angels are with you at your home. When did you decide to really take the next step?
The next step of taking them in completely.
Yeah.
So we do April, and when we did April, something happened that really, I think, was a turning point for me.
Okay.
Because when they came in April, I had planned to go home with my parents. That's my mom and my dad. And my husband wasn't coming with me, so I was gonna go by myself. And I said, okay, let me go with the children because I can't leave them. It was just for a few days. I didn't want to leave them with him because I think he'd also be overwhelmed. And I also wanted my parents to meet these children, and I also wanted these children to have over to show just understanding that I also have parents, that we mom and dad also have parents and things like that. Of course, by this point we had introduced them to our sisters and our brothers and their children who are very welcoming and very accommodating. So we traveled, and all these, because these are children who you only permission to come with them, I kept updating the guy at the children's home. I'm traveling, I'm going on this data, I'm coming, and there was even a contact on the other end that I was supposed to call. So a lot of whatever goes into make sure that these children are within a place where they can be accessed or they can be traced. So we went home for a few days, and then when we came back, I realized one of the child said something that made me realize. So when we go home, when I went home, I wasn't just me and these two children. I also went home with some of my nieces and nephews.
Okay.
So we went, and again, it was just these children can have playmates, and they can, and children, again, despite the boundaries and the challenges and the barriers, and the challenges, they gel in quickly. So they made friends very quickly. So when we get home, of course, my nieces and my nephews would call my mom Shushu and my dad Ka, and so these children also joined in. But when we came back, one of the children made a comment that made me realize these children think that Shushu, that's her name, just like your Abdi and I'm Anne.
Okay.
And they think Guka, that's his name. Just again, like your Abdi and your Anne. I don't know why, but that thing really shook.
Let me just mention this for anyone of you guys who don't understand Shoshu and Guka. Shoshu is a grandmother and Guka is grandfather.
Sorry, Anne.
Yes, sorry, Shoshu is or Shoshu. Actually, nowadays they call them Shosh. It's the Shen word for grandmother, and Gooks or Guka for grandmother. So that really hit me hard. That shook me. And I have always said, I think for me, that was a turning point. I realized, oh my goodness, these children don't have any concept of family. So they don't understand that Shosho would be my mom's mom, or Guka would be. And again, not all the children. Remember, at this point, the children that are in the children, so remember some of them have been there since birth, but remember some of them have come as older children. So those ones would have an understanding. So it also depends on the child that you're dealing with. But those that have been there since birth or from a very young age, any age below 4 years, those ones may not have that understanding.
Okay.
That hit me, that shook me, and and again we had that conversation with my hubby. And then the other thing that happened during that April holiday, in our effort, I guess, to have them settle, because I think we somehow overdid ourselves. I don't know. In our effort to try and help them settle, we did so many fun activities in that 1 month. And I think in the process, we just ended up falling in love with them.
Wow.
So, my husband
Beautiful.
and I also, why children back? Why can't they stay? But remember, this decision is not entirely based on us, depending on us. So again, we went back, we took the children back, and then at that point, we didn't mention anything to the guy at the children's home. We said, we don't want to rush into this. We don't want to do this, but let's stick through it.
Let me ask you a question. Now that you bonded with these kids during every holiday, and you have to return them back to children's home, how was that like for you emotionally? Like you already became a mother for a month, and now you have to return them back. How was that for you emotionally and psychologically? Just briefly.
I don't know. I think I don't know if I was on autopilot, or I don't know if I was thinking about what I was doing, because I think so many things happen within a short period of time. So the first thing that happens is now I am mothering two children. By the way, I forgot to mention that my husband and I don't have biological children. So for us, this was a very rude
first time experience.
Not rude, but what word is it? I was going to use the word rude awakening, but that's not the word. It was a shocking introduction to parenting. I have had my nieces and nephews and lived with them sometimes for given periods of time. So, but that you can never compare that to having a child full time in the house. So so many things were happening, and then just almost every day there was something that would just shock you. Like day one, you wake up and you realize, oh my goodness, this child doesn't know how to, for example, brush their teeth. So I need to stand there with them and brush teeth. You move on to the next thing and realize, it's because when you have a 6-year-old and 7-year-old, you have expectations. You think, these are child who just wakes up and does their thing. I put breakfast on the table and they are good to go. But every day you realize, this child doesn't know how to do this. We have to go through it like you would with a 2-year-old or something. This child doesn't know how to use this. This child doesn't know how to use this kind of a gadget or this kind of a space. For example, some of the children may not know how to use what is it called, the toilets that we have in Nairobi, or just many things. So every day was just a sort of like a shocker for me. Like, okay, they don't know how to do this. We have to do this. So I think I invested in the process. I invested myself so much emotionally, and my husband as well. We invested ourselves so much that by the time these children were leaving, I remember when we went to drop them. On our way back, I think we did say a word all the way to Nairobi. We did say a word. I think because it's almost like, what just happened?
And then you're still in the mix of all the emotions, and you're processing it. You have not yet came out of it and make sense of what is going on.
That has happened, and then suddenly we've left these children, which is very sad. It was very sad for them. It was sad for us, and they kept asking, will you come back for us when schools open? Will you call every day? Mom, I don't have these. I don't have a book. Actually, when we were going, they even told us the things they don't have, and we tried to buy just a few of them, because then again, you also have to balance. You can't get grand things for them, and they are going to a home where the other children don't have those things. So we got a few things, but there were all those questions of, will you call? Will you do what? Will you bring me to do what and what and what and what? So it's overwhelming. It's sad. It's everything, and then you drop them, and you have to say bye, and you have to leave. And I think we did talk our entire drive back to Nairobi. It's when we got home, and we were like, okay, so what just happened? We had two children in this house. There was a lot of activity. There was noise, and suddenly here we are. So like I mentioned, at this point, we knew what we wanted to do eventually, but we didn't mention it because, like I said, we said, okay, this is a bit, it's not as easy as we thought. It's engaging, it's involving. Of course, it takes a lot of adjustments, even for your daily schedules. So we said, let's just go back, think about it, maybe for one more month, pray about it, and then we'll go back and make our commitment. And so that's what we did for a month, and then we went to visit this guy again now, and we said, oh, you know what, from our experience, and I won't lie that our experience was easy. It wasn't just lovey-dovey and happy and just, I mean, there were many challenges.
It was a natural experience.
Sorry?
It was a natural experience. It came with the happy part and also the challenging part.
Oh yes. And I guess for both of us, for both my husband and I, and for the children, they were the happy, I mean, and I think that was the big part of it, the happy part of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to come back. But there were also the challenges, even for them, some of the adjustments. But they're children. Children, again, adapt and adjust very quickly. Mm-hmm. So we went back and we said, okay, this is what has happened, and we would like to take these children long term.
Mm-hmm. So, wait, when is this conversation happening? Which month?
So this is April, end of April, we dropped them back.
Yes.
May is when, and during the whole April month, we've been having this conversation with my husband. Okay. But when we dropped at the end of April, because they are resuming school in May, we took May to think about it, to mentally pray about it actually, and just make a decision. So by the time we were going back, it was, I remember we went back in June actually. We went back in June.
Okay.
Yeah, we went in June.
So now June, you're having a conversation with the managers of the children's home, and now informing them that, you know what, we want to now fully take in the children.
Yeah, so we went and we informed him, and of course he was excited. He welcomed the idea. At the end of the day, I know children's homes in Kenya have issues, and unfortunately quite a number of them have been turned into cash cows and those kind of things. But I know there are children's homes in this country where, I mean, people genuinely, the founders and the caregivers genuinely care for those children. Mm-hmm. And I think that home, I have to say, is probably one of those that I know that you can just tell genuinely they have the best interests of these children.
Yes.
So when we said that, he was very excited, and he said, oh, that's good news. That's exciting. Mm-hmm. But then something very interesting happened. Mm-hmm. It became clear that we couldn't take one of the girls.
Why?
I think because it's very personal information. I would rather not discuss. But one of the reasons that I can mention is because she had a sister there in that home.
Oh my God.
And this is information that we only found out during this April stay. Okay. And I think it's because these things happened. So many things happened at the same time, and so many things happened quickly that I think we at some point that was not very well communicated. I think we didn't know that it was actually, when it was said it was a sister, we didn't know it was a natural biological sister. So that was one of the reasons. But there were also other reasons. And that story has a happy ending, even though it was sad at that point. So it became apparent to take one of the girls. And oh my goodness. Oh, that was difficult. That was heartbreaking, because they said, now you cannot take one. Mm-hmm. And that was difficult for my husband and I, because we said, okay, how do we take one and leave the other? What will we tell her? Mm-hmm. I mean, how will we explain?
How will you convey that message to her?
Yeah, and I know it's not even our responsibility to convey that message to her, but it was very, very difficult. Just the thought of, we will drive there and go pick one and leave them. But of course, again, the home knows how to deal with these children, how to communicate, how to explain some of this. And so we were told that. We said, okay, wait a minute. I think we did have this information, so I think it might take us again time to just figure out or decide what to do, because it was especially for my difficult. He said, I can't go and pick one and the other. What will I see? I remember he even got to a point and said, unless we come and park so way far off at the road and you bring this one and turn on, we didn't want this child to feel any kind of rejection because of, you, and then now you come and picked one and left me, what's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. But again, this guy helped us walk through the process, and we just kept praying about it. And at some point, there was very clear confirmation that it was going to be okay, and it was well. And I say there's a happy ending because what happened with these two children is that the home had been able to identify a family link. Because they are continuously doing that, then good children's home, they're always doing that, trying to find if they can find any family link, and if there's any, the priority is to reinstate them back to
with their family,
a guardian or a relative or something. Always the priority.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying that's a happy ending, because they had been able to establish that, and so they wanted to pursue that. And again, because this was going to be long term, so we said, okay, if we're going to take one, then you can get us another child. You can add us another child, because we wanted to take two. And this guy said, because it's the first time that you're going to do this, we recommend that you, because now it's going to be long term. And I'll explain what long term. They insisted that you start with one, see how it goes, and then come back for another. And so that's how we ended up with one child in August.
So now we are in August. Are you taking in the child fully, like it was already accepted, or you're still taking the child for a holiday?
Our intention was to take the child fully during August, but I think that process delayed so much that by the time everything was getting finalized, we were already getting into the school holidays. And so again, it became apparent we had to take her for August, take her back so that she can do her third term there, instead of getting her out of her school midway that term, because we could only in completely from around September. And that time she's already gone back to school. And that time is very short. It's only September and October.
Yeah.
And a bit of there's even no October, because we took her at the end of right at the end of October. That's the time when the school holidays were very long during December. So we said, okay, all right, instead of plucking her out of school when it's just a month to go, she'd rather stay complete and then now coming completely. So again, we took her in for August, and then she went back, and then we picked her up.
Okay.
And then these again came challenges. Sorry.
Before even we go to the challenges,
our conversation is just getting deeper, it's getting more interesting, it's getting more intimate, and I'm very sorry to cut you short again, but we need to go for a short break because I'm not done with you. We have a lot of things to still. And again, I have another question for you guys before I let you go. What do you think we can do as a society to help? Share your opinions, your suggestions, your contribution in the comment section below.
We've had we've been told of cases like those, several actually, not few, where people take children and then 3 months, 4 months down the line, they decide we were not ready for this. We can't do this. It's too difficult. So I think for me then I was more afraid, I think, that I was excited, and yet I knew in my heart that I was ready. And my husband also knew that he was ready. So I think commitment to it is what kept us going, rather than even the excitement at that point.